Hi everybody, this is Brandy with When Down Syndrome Meets Autism, and Halloween is getting so close, so this is our Halloween paranormal episode. Now, I know that a lot of you have probably heard the same things that I have, that children with special needs somehow are a little bit closer to the veil than children without special needs. I've heard all sorts of sayings like children with special needs are closer to God. Children with special needs can see things that the others don't. Children with special needs never learn not to see ghosts and things like that. And honestly, I don't know what I believe about the paranormal and what I don't. I think it's super, super, super interesting. And I love a good, scary ghost story any time of the year. But I do have a couple of super creepy stories that might make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. I'm going to tell them to you right now. First, I had a neighbor when I was growing up in Texas, and her son was going through some special need issues. He had ADHD severely, and he had been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. And it was really interesting. He was actually almost lost at birth. The cord was wrapped around his neck, and he also had intrauterine growth retardation, which was IUGR. So the doctor decides that they're going to induce labor, and every time the woman has a contraction, the cord tightens around the baby's neck. So essentially the baby is being strangled in utero. The doctor finally realizes this, thank goodness, and he takes her in for an emergency C-section, pulls the baby out, takes the cord off his neck, and he's fine, thank goodness. But about 5 years later, when the baby was older, he told a story that amazed everyone. He sat down, everyone was sitting around the living room watching him, and he said, "Mommy, I remember the day that I was born." And everyone was kind of laughing, and they said, "Really? Tell us what happened." He said, "Well, I wanted to come out and see you really bad, but I was stuck. I couldn't move anywhere, and I was really scared. And then I heard you tell me that everything was going to be okay, that I just needed to stay really still, and I'd be just fine in a few minutes." And the woman was stunned, because that was exactly what happened. Right before she went in for the C-section, she kind of gave her tummy a hug, and she said, "It's okay, stay still, and I'll have you in a few seconds." And apparently he remembered all of that. It was amazing. That's not exactly paranormal, but I think it's a really interesting story. The other stories are actually my stories about Dale. And these are stories that really make me wonder what he actually sees. And I've always said that I would love to be inside his head, even for just a few minutes. But my first story happened actually the night that my mom died. My mom and I were super close, and Dale and my mom were super close. They had an amazing relationship. Well, the night that my mom passed away, I wasn't home. Kevin was here, my husband was here with Dale, and he said that around 4 o'clock in the morning, Dale woke up, and he was laughing and chattering and talking and actually lifting his hands up for somebody to pick him up. And Kevin said it was really weird because that never happens with Dale in the middle of the night. He never, talks to anybody in the middle of the night, and he certainly doesn't want, the dead air to pick him up. It was really odd. So, he chatters, he talks, he laughs, he's just having a good old time. And then all at once he says, "Bye-bye," and lays down and goes right back to sleep. And we thought, okay, this is really odd. Well, we get the news the next day that just devastates the whole family that my mom has passed away. And they estimated the time of death at 4 a.m. And just coincidentally, 4 a.m. is when Dale's mysterious invisible visitor came to visit us. So I've always wondered if my mom didn't somehow stop by and say goodbye to him, because all of us were so devastated and upset, and I expected Dale to freak out when he couldn't find her, especially over at their house. But it's like he already knew she was gone. That's what amazed me. That day we go over to the house, and he doesn't look for her, he doesn't ask for her, nothing. It's like he knew. So I don't know. I've always wondered about that. It's always kind of been in the back of my mind. The other story that I have actually was about 2 weeks after my mom died. And there was this Mylar balloon in my house. You know, just those silver balloons that have the pictures on them. And I didn't have it tied to anything, so it's just floating around in the living room. And the way that my house is, it has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms on one side. So you go down a hallway off the living room and you make a 90-degree turn and you can go to either of the bedrooms. So the balloon is just floating around, no problems. Keep in mind this is October in the Midwest. So it's not, you know, hot, it's not cold, it's just really mild. So we didn't have the air, we didn't have the heat on, we didn't have fans on, it was just comfortable regardless. So all at once, Dale starts cracking up and just cackling and cackling and cackling. This balloon starts moving around the living room. But the weird thing was, it looked like somebody was pulling it. You know, the string was actually out in front and the balloon was back here, like you had a hold of the string and, you know, you're walking along and pulling the balloon behind you. So Dale's laughing and cracking up and his eyes are following something around. And then the balloon goes around my living room, makes the 90-degree turn and goes down the hallway, and it goes into the master bedroom where Kevin was sleeping at the time. So once he gets in the master bedroom, it goes directly over to where Kevin is sleeping, and it floats from about 5 feet to 3 feet and bounces off his chin 2 or 3 times. And then it floats back up in the air and goes right back out, makes the 90-degree turn, and it goes in the living room. Then it does it again, but this time it goes into Dale's room, floats around a little bit in Dale's room, and then goes back out of Dale's room into the living room. And then it just stays. No big deal. It floats in the same spot for I don't know how long until the air was gone out of it. And I tried and tried and tried and tried to recreate that. I turned fans on. I opened doors. I opened windows. I tried to make that happen every way I could think of, and I never could get it to happen again. So I don't know. Call it paranormal, call it odd, call it coincidences, whatever you call it. But I would absolutely love to know some of your stories. If you've ever heard anything like this from your children, if you've ever heard any great stories, I would love to know it. So share your paranormal stories with me, and I hope you and your whole family have an awesome, awesome, awesome Halloween. I'll see you soon. Thanks for stopping by.